All right, great. Here we go. So just a few things on this camera as we get kind of oriented with it. And some of these you might just find out on your own. So sometimes when you open it up, it'll turn on by itself. But by default, they'll turn off kind of by themselves as well. This button right here, the on off, will kind of override it. So let's see, makes a nice little noise when it gets going. And my lens cap is already open. And so I'm obviously like seeing things through the camera. The lens cap is opening is right here. You can see that it's open right now. But if I were to switch this, it just kind of closes like that. Every year, like that's just, people are like, how do you open this thing? Well, it's right on the side here. So opening that lens cap, we've got this thing turned on. All your recordings on this camera are done kind of on this little SD card. If I open this door right here and I kind of push on this pops out. This is a 64 gigabyte. That's pretty big. They range kind of all over the place in our cameras. So that goes in and this closes. Without that, you'll get a little message on the screen that says you're missing the card.
And they kind of go in at an angle. It's a little funky, like you think it's going to be straight.
Yeah, and maybe I can show you that. This is it coming out, and it is that kind of at that angle Bill was talking about.
Yeah, nice. We can see it.
But when you push it, it does really like, it clicks in and stays, and then that little door shuts. I think all the cameras we've supplied like are set up in a way that have, now this is really hard to see because I'm trying to like put you into.
We can see the rule of thirds in there.
Yeah, so there are these, what they call these on-screen markers. So it actually like sets up your camera with those thirds. So you don't just have to think about it theoretically, but like if you were to line this up, which is really not working super well, but you'll just have those as a guide. And I think that can be really helpful in setting up the shot. And I sometimes think the most helpful thing is just making sure that it's a level shot. Hold on, let me switch this tripod around. There we go. Maybe another thing that'll come up. I mean, you want your camera close and you want to kind of crop the image or decide what's in the frame by moving your camera around. But here on the top, you have kind of your zoom in and out feature. Again, Jason talked about doing that while you're filming. It's a very tricky thing to do because if you're filming an interview, you kind of don't know often what's happening. But if you're filming B-roll, I think you can use it more purposefully and strategically. On the bottom of these cameras, there's a pretty standard place to screw in a tripod. There's two kind of holes on the bottom. The bigger of the two will have the threads. A word of caution on these, you know, the threads are great, but it's all made out of plastic. And so if you crank down on your, you know, the tripod piece, you'll kind of rip that apart. I've only seen it a couple times, but I have seen it. Here's the, oh, one other thing. On these cameras, you have two kind of, well, one's an input and one's an output, but they look exactly the same. And they take the same size jack, that 3.5 millimeter or small 1/8 inch, you know, that we typically see with headphones. So this is MIC for mic. So we're going to talk about microphones, I think, tomorrow. If not, we'll create something and share it with you. And this other one says either AV out or headphones. And so if you have your set of headphones in your kit, you can plug them in here and listen to them. And that's more important when we add the other microphones on, because we just want to make sure those microphones are working. If you plug your headphones in here and you hear a weird static, I'll help you later on. We're going to change something in the settings. The settings are saying that it's supposed to send an AV signal instead of a headphone signal, and we can just change that. So it's a little orientation pretty quickly to a camera, this camera here. And so here's the tripod, right? There's a lot of these tripods that we shared with you, but there's some other different ones. What's the same on every tripod is you have this. This is the screw that goes in the bottom of the camera. and a tripod shoe, often called, and some kind of lever that holds it to the tripod. So in this one, if I push this lever far enough, it'll click and hold, and then this thing just kind of comes out like this. And you'd think, like, how do you screw this into a camera? You're gonna first line it up. You've got your kind of small little piece here, and then the larger one with threads. They're gonna kind of line up here, and go right on top. And then on the back of all these tripod mounts, and again, they look a little bit different, is some way to hand tie it or hand twist it. And so here I can just twist this. And the key word dealing with all of this is don't make it tight, just make it snug enough. That's more than a word, I guess, but that's snug. It's not like wobbling around. Get this a little bit farther from the camera. This was charging. I'm gonna unplug that.
It's looking good. The visual's been really good, Tim.
Yeah, it might even be easier than trying to do this in person, quite frankly, because as soon as you're more than a few feet away, you're like, what are you doing?
I was just thinking that. It really is.
All right.
It's nice.
So that's the easy part of getting it on here. The harder part is, like, how does it go in here? On this one, I've got a marker that says lens goes that way instead of this way. And the only reason that matters is because you've got this, like, if I can move this, you've got this arm right here of the tripod. And so the lens usually points away from it. And so you can hold this behind the camera. So on this tripod foot, you've got these weird kind of angles on the sides. And the way it goes in here, like, I can't just push it in. Like, it has to kind of slide in from the side. And this definitely is something that, like, you can't just hear about or have someone show you. You're going to have to try. So you're going to slide this in from the side. And then usually, and I think all these tripods work the same, there's like a little pin in here. And once I push this and to that pin, you'll watch this thing, this lever, and it kind of snaps. Some snap harder than others. And if it doesn't snap all the way, it might go half, and then you just kind of close it back up. And now it's attached. If I want this off, right, just how I got this off before, I'm going to move this back here. Now this thing, you can see it just starts to fall off and comes off like that. While I'm thinking about this, the other thing you've got going with this is the battery is on the back of these. It really kind of sticks out. And over here, if you haven't seen it yet, this is the port for the wall plug. Right? So if you have the battery in and you put that in and plug it into the wall and you're not using the camera, it'll charge the battery. If you're ever in a situation where, hopefully you don't, but you lost the battery, you don't have it, or it's not charged, you could put that plug in here, put it in the wall, and film with it plugged into the wall. But I just don't think you can't do both things. You can't plug it in, have the battery charge, and use it at the same time. It'll kind of do one or the other. And then when you're done using this, I forget it too all the time, but a great thing would just be to close that up. And then when it's open, to never really touch that. The lenses of any camera are kind of the most kind of fragile parts of it in many ways.